prepare to put on your tinfoil hats.
Tonight we're going to be having Joan on. She's going to be talking about a handful of experiences she's had, including one where she claims she had been met by Slenderman.
All right, Joan, tell your story.
Okay, I'm Joan. I'm from Arizona, and I am 22 years old. So this story happened about, well, since I've lived in my childhood house, so since I was born. But one specific part of this story happened when I was about 8 or 9. I'll get into that later, though. So yeah, this happened in my childhood home, and it wasn't just me, it was me and my siblings too. And it wasn't even me who started it, it was my siblings. Let's see, where do I even begin?
Where did this all start? How old were you when all this started?
Oh, it's been going on since I was born, but it wasn't until I was like maybe 7 or 8 that I started hearing about it from my siblings. I'm the youngest of 3, and one of them is 4 years older than me, and the other is 10 years older than me. So,
Okay.
yeah, let me think. Well, growing up, we had a bigger house, and my bedroom happened to be in the very back corner of the house, and it was very separated from the rest of the house. And I struggled to sleep in my room for some reason. I always thought that it was just because I didn't like being alone in the back corner of the house, but it was anytime I'd fall asleep, something would wake me up, and I always thought it was just me being scared. So I slept on the couch a lot as a kid, up until I was about 11 years old, I think. And so there was I don't even know how to. The house has always been a little creepy. I've always gotten weird vibes from it, but I never thought too much into it. And my siblings would always joke around and be like, "Oh, there's ghosts, it's haunted." And my mom would just tell them to like be quiet and stop joking about it and that it's not haunted and all these things. She grew up very Catholic, so she believes in these things, but she believes in like demons and paranormal in such a way where it's like don't speak of it because it's bad. So yeah, that's a thing. And in our basement specifically, our basement's very, very eerie and creepy. And but you know, me being a little 6 or 7 year old, of course, I'm not going to go in this scary little basement alone at night. And I'd always make my mom go with me. And so let me explain this to you. It's all carpeted, right? And it's
Okay.
all cement floor. But under our pool table, which keep in mind, the original owners gave us that pool table for free when we moved in because they didn't, and I quote, feel like moving it. But under that pool table, you step and there's a hollow spot. Like there's not cement.
That's
And
weird.
we're like, that's weird. It's very weird. And it's carpeted over. And if you like hit it hard enough, you can hear it's like wood or something. Like there's a hole under the wood. And I never thought too much about it until I was about 8 or 9 when all this occurred to me and came up to me and was brought to my attention. So that's a key important thing in the story. My mom always told me it was just like she always came up with some weird excuse as to what it was. You know, never really knew what it was though. I'm gonna say I was 9 years old because my sibling's 4 years older than me. So yeah, I was about 9, and I was sleeping on the couch once again because I couldn't sleep in my room for some reason, and it was between the hours of 3 and 4. And for some reason, I woke up and I opened my eyes, and in the corner of the room, I see this figure, and it's tall and it's black, and it's not just like a shadow. It's like I see the outline of the head, I see the arms, and I see the legs, and the arms are like very long arms, and this figure is tall, like 8 or 9 feet tall. And I was
That's
so
tall.
like it's very tall, and my heart dropped. I was like, oh my god, there's something in my house just staring at me. Like nobody's out here. I'm terrified. What do I do? And it's just staring at me, and I knew there was nothing there, so I knew it couldn't be like a shadow of anything. And I'm like, this is it. Like I don't know what to do, and I couldn't stop staring at it. And after about 30 seconds, I finally was like, okay, close your eyes. It'll go away. So I closed my eyes, and I'm like, I'm not gonna open them again because if it's there, it's there. But then I hear footsteps in my kitchen, and I'm like, oh, this is it. Like I'm really done. So I open my eyes, and it's my sister, and she comes out of the kitchen. She's like, are you okay? And I'm like, oh my God. Like, I just saw something in the corner. And she's like, you're trembling. I'm like, I saw something in the corner. And I explained it to her. And she was 13. And she's like, okay, come with me. So she takes me into her room. She turns on all the lights. And I'm like, why do you have all the lights on? She's like, because if the lights are on, nothing comes. And I'm like, okay, whatever. And she starts explaining Slenderman to me. And this was before Slenderman was popular. I'm 22, and this is when I was 9 years old. So Slenderman was not really a thing. It was only on 4chan. I don't know if you guys know what 4chan is.
Mm-hmm. Of
Yep.
course.
Yeah, that's where it started, and that's when it started becoming a thing.
That's the origin of
And
Slenderman was on 4chan. I remember hearing about that's when all that started.
yeah, and she was explaining it to me. And I'm like, okay, and it was like so scary to hear about. I'm like, I'm pretty like I don't know, and like maybe I saw a shadow. It's hard for me to believe these things. And she's like, no, I believe you 100%. Like it's between the hours of 3 and 4. It's Christmas Eve. You're a kid. Like it all makes sense if you really did see something. And I'm like, okay, well, what is Slenderman? Why would it be a thing? And there's many ways you can think of where Slenderman came from, but in her opinion, she thinks it's a demon to get kids into hell. Which I've heard that story before. I've heard many different things, and so like why would a demon be in our house though? Like how did it get in the house? And then she goes to explain. Ugh, God, this I don't. She explains that our house is haunted essentially, and that there's something under that wood, and that there's
Right.
horrible spirits in the house. And she, over the years, until she moved out when she was 18, she had priests come in our house. She had whatever, all those types of people come into our house to bless it, to clear it, to confirm that there were spirits. And every single one was like, yep, there's horrible spirits in here, and we don't know why. Well, my brother confesses later, the one that's 10 years older than me, that when he was about 15 or 16, so I was about 5 or 6, he brought a Ouija board into the house. And he took it into the basement, and him and his friends thought it would be fun to play with. And that's all I know about that. But me
So,
and my sister are convinced that a lot of the spirits came from the Ouija board. Probably didn't know what he was doing with it. Probably bought it from Toys R Us and thought it'd be funny to play with. But yeah.
so
Hmm.
he was screwing with this thing in the basement, you were saying, and tell me about the thing on the floor again. What's the deal with the floor down there?
We still don't know to this day. I've addressed it to my mom as I got older. I was like, Mom, I know that's not just there's something there. And she explained that it's probably, I guess, back in the day, they had little seating areas that went into the ground, if that
What?
makes sense, in basements. And I'm like, I don't believe that, first off. Second off, everything is cement. Like, what do you mean? And so I would, point these things out to her, and she would just ignore and brush it off and be like, why, you're being like silly, what are you doing? So
So
still.
this is all under carpet, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And underneath the carpet, it's all concrete except for one area where it feels like it's wood in the middle of the floor.
Yeah, like you step on it and you hear a hollow spine. You knock on it and it's like it feels and sounds like wood, and there's something under the wood, like it's hollow.
That's really weird. Like,
And it's like
Jane,
a rectangular shape too. It's not like a circle. It's under the pool table too. So we can't, even if we did want to like remove the carpet and the wood, we'd have to move the pool table. And for some reason, the original owners did not want to take the pool table because they said it was just too much of a hassle to get it up from the basement.
that's now that all that's kind of now I'm seeing the chain of events here. That's all kind of sketch.
Yeah.
But continue with your story. What happens next?
That's literally it. My sister convinced me that Slenderman was a demon and that I should wear a cross around my neck to protect myself. And so the next day, I went out and I made my mom buy me a cross, and I wore it for like 4 years straight. And I took it off at some point. I don't remember. I just took it off one day, I think.
So this is the only time you've ever seen that thing, whatever it was.
Yes.
And,
But yeah, that's the only time.
and you said it was how tall?
Like 8 or 9 feet.
That's
'Cause
insane.
it was taller than the bookshelf, and the bookshelf is good 6 or 7 feet. And it was like hunched over too in a way.
Oh, so it was hunched over. How much detail could you see on it?
I just saw the black figure. It had no facial expression. It was tall, long. It was just a black figure. And
Humanoid?
then when later on when Slenderman became popular, I would see photos of him and I'm like, wow, that looks identical to the thing I saw. But in my head, I'm thinking, I never saw Slenderman. Like, that's not real.
Right. My understanding of a lot of the Slenderman cases is that the whole origin of it was just a 4chan thing, but people are seeing something that I've heard a handful of stories that people describe as Slenderman, but isn't, an exact match to it, but it is very similar to it.
Yeah,
Tall, dark
exactly.
figure, stands X amount of feet tall, follows kids home, that kind of thing.
Yes.
That's
Okay,
creepy.
so you said when you initially saw it, it was about 3 to 4 in the morning.
Yeah, I was
You were sleeping on the
between the
couch.
hours of 3 and 4. Yep, I was sleeping on the couch and I was alone.
Do you remember being able to move when you saw it?
I couldn't move. Like, I remember opening my eyes and like being stuck, and I'm like, I don't know if I should move and run or if I should stay. And I was just very confused and I couldn't stop staring at it.
But if you had tried to, could you physically move your body, or is that was just impossible at the time?
I feel like I was in so much shock that I couldn't.
So, because what I was leaning towards was sleep paralysis. But if you feel like it's more of a shock thing, then I'd say not.
Right,
No, I've
because
never had sleep paralysis. I don't think it's that.
interesting. Yeah, by the way, sleep paralysis sucks. To anybody out there who's ever experienced it, I feel it with you. Most of it's my fault because I choose not to sleep and I run this show really late at night. So that's my own fault and why I have it all the time. But I understand to anybody out there that suffers from sleep paralysis. It's absolutely terrible and very frightening.
Yeah, that's what my sister at first thought that I had sleep paralysis, and I'm like, nope, I've never had it before in my life. Why would I have it just the one time?
So then it was just an instance of you being so startled or scared that you were frozen in place because of fear.
Yes, and I remember in the moment I was like thinking to myself, don't move a muscle. If you don't move, it won't see you, like a dinosaur. Which
Yeah.
it obviously wasn't
That
a
makes
dinosaur,
sense.
but
Right.
Okay.
That's wild. And so, are there other instances with this house that you've heard through word of mouth that you haven't experienced personally, or is there other stuff you've experienced personally?
there is other stuff I've experienced personally, and it's also word of mouth. Um, my dad doesn't believe in any of this, so anytime I bring it up, he just kind of laughs it off. But like I said, my mom grew up very religious, so anytime I'd bring anything like this up, she told me to just be quiet and whatever. And there was one night I got a few drinks in her, and I was like, "Mom, what do you think?" She's like, "Maybe there's something here, but like, if we don't address it, Joan, it won't hurt us. Like, come on now." And I'm like, "Okay, well, I got my parent to admit it, so here we are." Um, there was I finally, like a year or two after this Slenderman thing happened, I spoke up to one of my friends because I hadn't told anybody because I was like, nobody's gonna believe me. And I told her, I was like, yeah, this whole thing happened and like it's really creepy. And my back, I still hadn't wasn't really sleeping in my back room because I was very scared of it. And at the time, nobody was home except me and her and my mom. And the hall to get to my room was like pitch black, whatever. And I needed to get something out of it. And I look in the hall and I'm like, I saw something moving and I'm like, oh, nope, fuck that. Nope, nope. And I made her go. And she's like, there's nothing here, whatever. And she's Mormon, so she really doesn't believe in these things. And she looks down the hall and she's like, I'm not doing this. And I'm like, what do you mean? And she's like, there's something there. I'm not doing it. And so I made her finally do it. And she said she saw something in my room. But I didn't even go. I just made her run down the hall, do it herself. That was the other experience I had personally.
So, can you explain to me the feelings that you get whenever you would enter your room in the back corner of the house?
It would be very cold and like something was there and I felt chills all the time and I felt like something was always watching me and I was not comfortable.
Like the hairs on your arm standing up kind of chills?
Yeah, like something would touch me or something and I'd be like shivering.
Okay. So then maybe that was like the room where everything was emanating from, or maybe it was below the pool table. But
Yeah,
you,
so that's funny you bring that up because my sister, who's brought in like priests and everything like that, um, they said that it's in that direction of the house, as well as they did a measurement, and the pool table is directly under my room.
oh,
Yeah.
okay.
That does
So,
complicate things.
yep,
The plot thickens. Continue.
it does. What else? Growing up, like as I got older, I went into junior high and high school. It wasn't bothersome as much, if that makes sense.
It sort of faded away. It didn't happen as often or at all.
Yeah, so it just nothing ever happened. Like I can't remember a single time in high school where anything happened, but I did switch bedrooms in high school,
Mm.
so
What
that could be a thing.
What was your old room converted into?
It was still a room. It's just so my room had a bathroom that was Jack and Jill with my brother's room, and my brother moved out and he had the bigger bedroom, so I just went from one end of the Jack and Jill bathroom to the other.
Okay.
But I would just never go in that room at night. Even in high school, I was still like a little weirded out by that room.
I mean, understandably so.
Yeah.
So maybe, because what I'm thinking is, whatever it was, it considered that room to be its quote unquote space, and the fact that you were in it, it didn't appreciate that. So when you swapped rooms, it stopped really bugging you.
I feel like that would be a accurate thesis or hypothesis. Yeah.
Hmm.
My theory is whatever it is either attached to the pool table or whatever's underneath the pool table.
I think it's something to do with under the pool table, honestly. I don't think it's a pool table.
Yeah, that could
Do
make
you
sense.
do you still have access to that house?
Oh yeah, I go there all the time. I actually might go there tonight.
Ah man, I'm not
New
gonna
Year's
tell you
party.
to destroy the pool table and like the floor below, but kind
You
of
know,
interested to see what's
if you get
down there.
everybody drunk enough for New Year's and you just happen to be able to sleep away with a knife and some duct tape, just find out what's under that pool table for me.
You know what? I think I've seen underneath the carpet and there is wood. There's only like a chunk. I don't know if one of my siblings cut it on purpose or like rubbed it wrong because it is very, very thin carpet. And like if you jam it hard enough with something, it will probably rip. So I feel like it is a little ripped and there is wood. I don't know. I don't remember if it was me or one of them who ripped it, or maybe it wasn't even ripped on purpose.
Hmm.
But there is wood.
So there is wood underneath it. It is wood.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Maybe it's some like weird pagan altar where someone was worshiping the devil.
Yeah, man, who
Honestly,
knows?
maybe.
I mean, that would be kind of cool.
It's kind of an old house too, so.
Hmm. You said it was originally owned by a mayor in Arizona, correct?
I'm not sure. My parents said that it was originally owned by like one of the original politicians of Arizona, but I could totally be wrong. It had some sort of significance in that way, I guess. It was
Mm,
owned by someone who was important at some point, if that makes sense.
yeah.
That's fair.
Hmm.
So then it's a really old house. It's
It
kept
doesn't
well,
look
but
old, but I don't know when it was originally built. I know it's older. I don't think it's like early 1900s. I don't even think it's that old, but it's older for sure.
okay.
That's creepy. I want to know more.
Mhm.
Has anybody else seen whatever it is that you saw, or has anybody else seen any kind of something?
Nope. It well, no, nobody saw what I saw. You know, my brother, even to this day, he's like, "You're crazy. You didn't see anything." My sister, on the other hand, is like, "Oh yeah, I believe you. Like, you probably saw something. You know, you were at 8 or 9 years old. That's probably yeah. You probably saw something."
Hmm.
I hear a lot of the people that we talked to, Dane. I got actually when I woke up this morning, I had probably 30 DMs from Reddit this morning of people just wanting to talk and come on the show, but we're gonna have to go sort through all of those later. But a lot of the people that I've seen on a lot of these subreddits and stuff talk a lot about fairies when they're younger and that they disappear when they grow out of it. So I do wonder a lot, because a lot of people also say that about paranormal related things, is that they see a lot of things growing up and then they hit a certain age and it kind of stops.
Once they become teenagers, but when they're kids,
Right.
it really like kicks off because no one believes kids when they say stuff like this. But
I also feel like demons will go after the most vulnerable, and i.e.
the innocent.
kids. Yeah, kids.
Mm.
Well, that's like with poltergeist and stuff. A lot of the poltergeist related stories that we talk to, a lot of it's focused around people who have some type of trauma in their life or some type of vulnerability, is when poltergeist activity begins to start and become very present.
You know, it's funny you mention that because nothing had happened, and then I moved into the place I live now. And after my mother passed, she had this bookshelf growing up. It's very small. It's wood. It's got like three little shelves on it. And after she passed, my brother's like, "Here, take this. Go put it in your house somewhere." I'm like, "Okay, I'll put it in my room." It's white, and my walls are white, but the rest of my furniture is a wood color, but it doesn't look bad. It blends. And for some reason, anybody who goes in my room is just like kind of looks at that bookshelf weird. I'm like, "What? Was something wrong?" Like, no, it's just it like it fits too well. Like it feels weird. I'm like, "What do you mean it feels weird?" They're like, we get weird feelings from it." And I'm like, "Okay, well, I don't, so it's fine." And there was one time my friend was using my bathroom, and we were all playing board games downstairs, and he just came up to my room to use the bathroom. I guess he didn't turn on the light, and I hear him kind of like scream a little. I'm like, "Okay, whatever." Like, we're all drinking, whatever. He comes back downstairs. He's like, "Something touched me." And I'm like, "What do you mean? Maybe it's my
Uh,
dog, And he's like, "No, something was like touching my feet." And I'm like, "That's weird." Okay, well, whatever. And I just kind of ignored it. He's like, "You're not worried?" I'm like, "Nope, I'm just not going to acknowledge it."
Just like your
And
mom taught you.
yeah, exactly. I'm like, if I don't acknowledge it, it's not there. Um, there was another time my last roommate, I was in his room with him and he was playing video games, or maybe we were watching a movie, and he was on the phone, and then he just like drops the phone and stares into the hall. The hall lights were off, and I'm like, "What are you looking at?" He's like, "I just saw someone." And I'm like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "I saw someone walking just now. They walked into your room." And I'm like, "Okay, well, I didn't see them." But then I'm looking, my dog and his cats are all staring, like with their ears perked, staring. And I'm like,
uh,
"Well, this is great. This is great. It's fine. Just ignore it." Um, and the worst thing is, I started yelling at him, and I'm like, "You're crazy. Why are you doing this to me?" Like, he's very anti-religion, anti-ghosts, anti-demons, and I'm like, "Why are you saying this? Like, you don't believe in these things?" And he's like, "I know. I've never seen something like that, though. Like, I don't. I. But
Hmm.
since then, he's, I've brought it up since, and he's like, "I probably just saw a shadow. I don't know." But I'm like, "Oh, you probably saw something, but okay."
a lot of the.
So
Go ahead, Dane.
go ahead. Ladies first. Come
Oh, funny.
on.
A lot of people that I've talked to in the past, when they experience things with their friends or something like that, when their friends were never open to that kind of stuff and they see something, it freaks them out and they're pretty convinced right away, but then they try to do a mental gymnastics and convince themselves they didn't see what they saw, even though both people that saw it know exactly what they saw. And as the years go by, they kind of try and suppress it down, and I've heard that quite a few times.
Yeah, yeah, it's a pretty normal thing for people to just pretend they didn't see it or pretend it wasn't there. I do that sometimes too.
Like downplay it.
Yeah, because, when you really think about it, is there anything you can do?
No.
No.
Exactly. And that's
Uh,
why, like, a lot of the time in my room too, I get woken up between the hours of 3 and 4. And it's very odd that I just like all of a sudden wake up between 3 and 4. But I'm like, you know what? There's something I could do. Don't acknowledge it. Just go back to bed.
3 and 4, that's such a weird time.
I mean, it's like 3:30. 3 to 3:30 is like the devil's hour or something like that. I could totally be wrong.
I was gonna ask if you know the origins of the white bookshelf, like how your mom came into possession of it.
My grandpa made it for her. And
Oh, okay.
that's all I know about it. But I've talked to my brother about it. He doesn't believe in these things, and he's like, well, if there is something there, it obviously likes you, because knock on wood, it hasn't bothered you yet, and for some reason, it pops up and like shows itself to your friends, but not you. And I'm like, that's fair. That's fair to believe in. Okay.
I'd say it's almost protective of you.
Yeah, that's what he was explaining, and I'm like, that's fair. Maybe it's it's possessive over me too, though. That's what I worry about.
Yeah, if it's possessive, that's something to be worried about. But if it's protective, then I mean, a little less worrisome, but still.
Still creepy regardless.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd rather have nothing here in a way.
Yeah, Dane, that sure would be nice. By the way, it's weird because I hear a lot of these stories about these tall beings or whatever, entities, whatever you want to call them, but it's always dark. Like, why are they always? It's weird because
They're like shadow people.
right, shadow people. I hear the term shadow, dark figure a lot, and a lot of the theories out there with a lot of the paranormal stuff is that it has something to do with the light spectrums and existing in different light spectrums, and when they manifest, they come into different light spectrums. But I wonder if the shadow, like the shadow people have always stumped me. Like, what are they? What is it? What are people seeing?
I never run into the shadow people. That scared me too much.
You've never looked into the shadow people?
Nope.
Maybe you should have a shadow person.
Well, if I do, I'd rather not know about it.
Originally, what I was thinking it was because people who suffer from sleep paralysis, they see one of two things mostly, which is the bed or the night hag, which is what I've seen,
The night hag.
and then the hat man. It's the really tall guy with a hat that stands in like a doorway or something.
Yep, I've heard of him.
So I mean, maybe you did see. Oh, he didn't have a hat, did he? Or not that you can tell.
No. Like when I look at images of Slenderman, I see the figure that I saw that morning.
Okay.
But I don't.
Like, it
I
just
didn't
looks like a
necessarily-
tall, featureless person.
Yes, he had no facial features whatsoever.
Hmm.
Very long arms, just staring at me in the corner.
Wait, were the arms
Very scary.
disproportionate?
Yeah, they were longer than the rest of their body. It was like that's what I remember too. Is like awkwardly long arms. Oh, I just got chills from it.
Yeah, a lot of the that's what Zane was, or I'm sorry, Zaid was describing to me when he did the Skinwalker episode with me. Is he described the creature that had disproportionate body features, long arms, stuff like that. I'm talking to another guy with a Skinwalker related case, and I'm curious if he's seen the same thing. If what the physical proportions of it are, because a lot of these weird beings, whatever you want to call them, that shadow people or whatever, I hear a lot about weird body proportions, whether it's a skinwalker or whatever it is, but tall, dark figures in general seem to have these weird body proportions.
Yeah. Oh, you know what else is weird is that my house I have now, my last two roommates I had before my other roommate, they both have experienced paranormal, and it freaked me out. But I've never experienced it either, except for one time. This sounds ridiculous, but I've always the dog filter on Snapchat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the dog filter.
I'm always pulling it up and like trying to see if another face will pop up randomly or something when I'm by myself. And I was doing a video with the dog filter on, and I was like in my kitchen, and for some reason the paranormal that my roommates always experience was in the kitchen. And it was the middle of the day, and I'm like, okay, like ghost, if you're here, pop up. And then like 10 seconds later, it just like popped up in the corner and it like moved its head a little, and I'm like, oh my god. I still have the video somewhere. I just clicked out. I was like, nope, not today.
Check your
That's so creepy.
your Snapchat history. Maybe you can find it.
Yeah, I'll try to find it.
That's so
It
creepy.
was. I was so scared. I was like, I'm leaving. It's the middle of the day. I'm leaving.
I mean, even if it's the middle of the day, man, if some weird, shit happens, it's still scary.
Exactly. Exactly. Um, I did mess with a Ouija board once, actually,
Oh, that sounds
myself, which
fun.
that was really stupid of me, honestly. Anybody listening, don't play with Ouija boards. I mean, go ahead, play with Ouija boards. Follow your heart. But personal recommendation:
That's funny.
if you can buy a demon toy from Toys R Us, and now Toys R Us is shut down, don't buy the demon toy.
But
Joan, I
but
think
my
I'm gonna
demons,
I'm,
though.
I think I'm gonna put that on a t-shirt. Can I put that on a t-shirt?
Yes, you can.
Okay, I'm putting that on a t-shirt. Dane, write that down.
Perfect.
Don't buy a demon toy from Toys R Us.
Yes.
Yes.
Perfect. So it was my first year out of high school, so I was 18, and it was my friend's birthday. I think it was before Christmas, after Halloween. It was rainy out, and she really wanted a Ouija board, and I was like, heck yeah, I want to play with one. And I told my mom, and she's like, don't you dare. And I'm like, Mom, you told me yourself you don't really believe in religion, like ghosts and demons aren't real. She's like, Joan, don't you dare buy one of those. And I'm like, oh okay. I'm like, I'm gonna buy one. She's like, you mention it to me, you bring it in this house, you're bothered by it, I don't want to hear about it. I'm warning you, don't get it. Of course, I didn't listen. So
Of course.
I'm thinking, hey, they sell out of Toys R Us. How bad could it be?
Right.
Yeah. So I go and I buy it. And that night, I had, let's see, there was 8 or 9 of us, and half the people there were like, no. They were so dead serious about no. Like, they were telling us to not do it. They're like, why'd you do that? You need to return that right now. You're crazy. Like, no way. And me and my friend, there's 2 guys there, and they're like, no, we don't care. Like, we'll do it. And I'm like, I'll do it. Whatever. I'm got it. So I'm telling them, like, I Googled how to do a Ouija board, how to open it, how to close it. And I'm explaining the rules to them, and they're kind of not listening. They're like not taking it serious. And I'm like, okay, like maybe I shouldn't be playing with stupid people. This is how every stupid teenage horror movie starts.
Right.
Whatever. We'll just see where this goes. And so I suggest, hey, let's do it in a public place like a park. How about this park that just opened down the street in a very nice neighborhood? Because maybe nothing will happen. And so, of course, it's raining and storming out. We go to the park, and we start opening it. We're waiting. We tried it 3 or 4 times. Nothing. So then all of us are bored, and the girl I bought it for is like, hey, let's do it in my backyard. And I'm like, are you sure? Because, I mean, I kind of believe in this stuff, and like, if you play with it in your house, you're screwed. But like, if you're down, I'm down. Whatever.
Hey, I mean,
So
it's your funeral, but if you're down, I'm down.
exactly. Like, you want to jump off the bridge? Okay. No, I'm just kidding. But so we go to her house. It's like around 11 o'clock at this point. We're in her backyard. We open it. We wait. Nothing. So we close it. And I'm like, I'm gonna probably head out soon because I'm getting weird vibes, and I'm like, I'm scaring myself at this point. I'm convinced I'm scaring myself.
Mm-hmm.
So we try one more time, and it finally starts working. And I'm like trembling, and I'm like, guys, who is this? Who is this? Who is this? And they're all like, their eyes are so big, like it's none of us. And like, I can tell when they were lying or not, and I can tell if someone's pushing it. Nobody's touching it. Nobody's pushing it. And it's like, we're asking it questions, and we asked for its name. It says Mary. And I'm like, guys, I'm not stupid. This is not the real name. This is not some girl named Mary. Like, you guys are on crack. This isn't real. We need to close this board. What are we doing? Like, it all hit me at once. I'm like, we're playing with demons. What are we doing? Like, there are no walls up right now. So I tell them to close it because I want to leave. And I can't. I'm like, guys, close it. They're like, no, we don't want to. I'm like, guys, close it. I can't lift my fingers until you close it because otherwise I'm screwed. Close the board. So then we close it. I tell them, peace out. I'm going home. I'm uncomfortable.
Yeah, fuck that.
Yeah. So I go home. Whether they were faking it or not, I got horrible feelings from that. Like, I've never felt such like a heavy weight on me at that time, and like there was something there, and I'm like, I wasn't cool with it. No. Um, I get home, and my mom immediately is like, "Don't move." And I'm like, "What?" She's like, "Were you playing with the Ouija board?" I'm like, "Yes." And she's like, "I'm so mad at you. I can't believe you do that, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, okay, whatever, Mom. Like, I didn't bring it in the house. I left it at my friend's house. We closed the board properly. Like, I'm terrified right now. And she's like, I don't want to hear about your scaredness. Like, I warned you. Like, you messed with the wrong thing. And I'm like, you know what? I thought you didn't believe in religion anymore. She's like, well, I don't like Ouija boards. That's horrible. And I think it brought it back to when my brother played with the Ouija board in the basement, but I didn't really mention that to her because I was so scared myself at that point. And I went to lay in my room, and I remember laying there crying, just thinking, like, I opened something, and now it's probably going to follow me for the rest of my life, and I'm going to be killed. It's great. Don't know if it's still with me to this day. Don't know if anything came with me to this day, because I closed it. Maybe it went with one of them, or maybe it just didn't go with anybody. But there was something, and they continued playing, actually, and next morning my friend told me that they found out it's one of the guy's friends. Her name was Mary. They knew each other in second grade, and she died really young. But he never knew a Mary in second grade, so they were kind of confused. And I'm like, are you stupid? Like, they obviously used a fake name. Because if you've ever seen any paranormal movie or heard a story, demons and whatnot don't ever use their real name.
Yeah.
And they're just eating it up. They're like, no, we're going to play again tonight. We're going to get to know Mary more. And I'm like, you guys are stupid, but have fun.
Yeah, fuck it. If you're gonna do some dumb shit, you might as well have fun. That's actually probably terrible advice. Well, most of our viewership is actually over 18, because most of our stuff is explicit. But yeah, screw it. I don't have any younger audiences. Do whatever you want. Have a good time. Just
Exactly.
don't kill yourself.
Exactly. That's what I was saying. I'm like, you know what? I'm warning you guys. Like, none of them believed in ghosts or demons or religion or anything. And I'm like, fine, whatever. Have fun.
Yeah,
Well-
I had a Ouija board too when I was growing up, and my older siblings would always screw with me. We never used it. It was always we had like a little closet, and that's where all our board games were and stuff. And I remember they told me that, my mom in particular, like, I think they were teasing me more than anything. They were telling me how like dangerous it was and all that kind of stuff. And I always imagined that it was just part of like the fun with it, is that they would talk about like, oh, it's bad, you shouldn't play with those. And as I grew out of it, I started to figure out like, oh, they were just screwing with me. But then I like read more stuff on them, and I'm like, oh, I do believe that they were teasing me about them being dangerous and stuff, and that they were just trying to screw with me. But a lot of the stuff that I've looked into, Ouija boards are sketch, dude. Like, they're pretty sketch.
The origins of them and everything, like, they weren't created to be a kid toy. They were literally created to access demons, and then somehow or another, down the line of life, I guess you could say, they became a kid toy. Somehow. Don't know how that became a thing.
I bet you I know how. I can imagine it now, like a bunch of Hasbro executives like sitting around like, guys, we need a new board game. And they all just kind of shoot each other a glance, and this guy pulls up a PowerPoint of like witchcraft, and they all kind of just like, they go, oh yeah, we're gonna be rich.
Yeah. Like Disney or something brainwashing kids, just like, oh yeah, we're gonna brainwash these kids to think this stuff is cool. We're not gonna care about the results, and we're gonna get money from it.
By the way, Hasbro, please don't sue me. We have no money.
Yeah, we're broke. I mean, you can put us in prison if you want. Free food, I guess.
Free food and housing.
That's so
Yeah,
fucked.
exactly.
Well, I like to wrap it up with
With the Ouija board shit, I think that was a good place to end it.
Yeah.
I want to ask you. So normally I ask people, do you believe in things such as paranormal, alien, or cryptics? You obviously, the answer is yes,
Yes.
wholeheartedly.
Yes, wholeheartedly. Like, there is other things out there that we cannot control.
Yeah, the
And I think
unexplainable.
that's the scariest part about the paranormal is we have no control over it, and there's nothing we can do to stop it.
They're
It's
the
the
ones with the
unknown.
real power here.
Yep. Yup.
Right on. Thanks for coming on, Joan. It was always a
Yeah,
blast talking
thank
with you.
you. Yes,
Appreciate
it is.
it.
Thank you.